Good evening, Georgia. How you doing?
Good evening, Georgia. How you doing?
That's great. So, Georgia, what's going on in Las Vegas? Anything new? Hey, Georgia, how you doing?
How are you doing, my brother? It's going wonderfully well as usual.
Yeah, me. I just came back from the gym, so they were talking about Hawaii and everything like that. Well, it was
Mhm.
yesterday actually, but one of the guys was telling me that one of the places which a lot of Hawaiians consider the eighth island is Las Vegas. Because to them,
Did you say that again? It's hard to hear you.
All right. One of the eighth islands of Hawaii, they consider Las Vegas.
They're considering one of the islands, Las Vegas.
Yeah, as Las Vegas. Yeah, because that's where most of the Hawaiians go to when they want to go stateside. I was like, interesting.
I can see that because we do have a lot of Hawaiians out here, by the way, though. And then in a neighborhood of Las Vegas called Silverado Ranch, there are actually like some Hawaiians, actually not some, but a lot of Hawaiians in the community.
Yeah.
So I can actually see that as something making sense.
Mm-hmm.
Have you visited Hawaii before?
I want to. I mean, I guess it's on my bucket list. I mean, ever since I was a kid watching Magnum PI.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's been actually on my bucket list to go there.
I would recommend it because I've been to Honolulu, and if anything, Honolulu ought to be the place where you should check out.
Yeah. Yeah, but but I've been hearing a lot of stuff that most Native Hawaiians they actually finding it hard to live out there.
How so?
Well, rent is expensive, and I guess a lot of people don't own property as they should out there. So
Now, the cost of living in Honolulu is very high. And when I mean high, I mean super duper high. Probably almost to the point where it could be as expensive as New York City. So that also does make sense. But then again, you actually do have people who move all the way here from Hawaii because they feel that the cost of living is actually better here. It's why we actually do have a decent sized Hawaiian population out here because of how the cost of living on the islands are becoming too much.
So what is like the median rent out there in Las Vegas? Because I know that there's a lot of I know the rent is here in Philadelphia is pretty decent, but then it might be rising up because a lot of New Yorkers are actually coming to Philadelphia since ever.
So like at an apartment that I once had 2 years ago, everything there was $1,800, and it was a 3-bedroom apartment, including like the utilities and of course the trash. So I would say that's better compared to probably California and New York. However, that number is starting to increase. Say again?
Yeah, for $1,800, you're just getting a bedroom with a rat as your roommate.
Mm-hmm. Even in some parts of New York and even in California, you could be paying as much as $2,000 for a 1-bedroom apartment in the hood.
Yeah.
Whereas where I had my apartment 2 years ago, which was 3 bedrooms, it was actually in a very great area of Henderson, Nevada. And it was pretty good, at least for that area. But compared to some hoods in California, you could be paying more than that.
Right.
That reminds me, but even like my brother, he had been car dwelling for a year. because of how he just wanted to stack up on money and save. So he chose to live in his car all around LA because, of course, like he was just, struggling a bit. He was poor. And so he made it actually work for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my thing is that, okay, I guess with current events and everything like that, and as you know, a lot of people are actually saying that Taiwan and China might come close to a war or something like that. What are your thoughts on about that?
So not that long ago, I had a roommate who ended up shooting up a church in California and killing somebody because of how that church was actually in support of Taiwanese independence. So
Mm-hmm.
I could actually see something very serious taking off, especially when you have like those of the pro unification, like Chinese movement, who want to, I guess, keep Taiwan as Chinese territory, whereas you actually have a number of Taiwanese citizens who would like to just become under their own sovereignty. So because of the horrific actions of my ex-roommate at the time, I could actually see something very ugly devolving as a result of the whole tensions between China and Taiwan and how they were really wanting to function with their communist government.
Exactly, because it's like, I guess the situation in Hong Kong, a lot of I guess the CCP were upset with I guess with a lot of Hong Kongers how they were paying respect towards Queen Elizabeth's passing or whatsoever the case may be. As I guess they were really showing their frustration with the Chinese government. What or whatever.
Well, the thing is that we know that Hong Kong used to be under British rule.
Yeah, for
It used
156 years.
Exactly, though. So a lot of even people in Hong Kong still actually pay a lot of respect to Queen Elizabeth and just also just the British crown in general. And that's why just like a
Mhm.
couple years ago, people were saying that it was 1776 and Hong Kong because we all remember like the brutal riots and civil unrest taking fold all around Hong Kong. In
Yeah,
1776, we know what that entails. Well, a country wanted to be full on sovereign.
yeah,
It could happen because like Singapore is very tiny, but they're sovereign. And I
right.
think the same like principle could also be applied to Hong Kong. So I think that we're just more so in that era, a new era of war of independence or wars for independence, in spite of how
Yeah,
ugly it can really become.
exactly.
But technically speaking, a lot of people actually had to shed their own blood in the streets in order to get to where me and you are today.
Yep,
I can admit
that
that
is a
even
fact.
though I'll be honest with you, bro, I don't like war. I don't want stuff like that to go down. But then at the same time, even in the Old Testament of the Bible, there was war. There was
Yeah.
brutalities. There was ugliness too. Because like
Hmm.
if you remember like in the book of Judges, the prophet Deborah was telling um, one of the army commanders, Barak, that
Right.
in order to get the Canaanites to stop subjugating the Israelites, you're going to have to go to war with the Canaanites and then rededicate your hearts and your minds to God. And then he shall actually bless you and have your back during the brutal war. So all that stuff and probably what's going on now, brother, is biblical, in spite of the
Yeah.
fact that not everyone's going to be cut out for it.
I mean, if you actually look at it, right, this is my thing, and I guess since a lot of people are not they have their opinions or whatever the case may be. You have certain people that they like, for example, for some inordinate reason, you have certain people that they just think in their minds that that there's gonna be a holy war and they're gonna try to jumpstart everything. The fact is, it's actually in God's timing. So I don't know.
Well, like I just see like just everything just starting to manifest itself from that biblical standpoint. Is that
Yeah,
there's a lot of mystery to it, and there's just a lot of unpredictability as well to it. But right now, I can say that we have a distinct idea as to what's going on, because now that we saw something with Singapore, we saw something with Hong Kong, and as you saw with my roommate and what he did, which stemmed from the whole controversy, surrounding like China and Taiwan and whether the unification movement should continue to unfold. The more wars for independence and even probably freedom are going to continue to unfold.
yeah.
Honestly, man, hey, I'm even fighting for kind of like my freedom from for a distinct category on the U.S. Census, because clearly what we already have is not enough.
I actually agree with you on that.
Because this Louisiana Creole mulatto here very much wants my stuff right back there on the census. And it's going to definitely take like a lot of manpower to get to that point. Now, I'm not talking about killing people, because I don't want to do that. That's just not in me at all. Honestly,
Right.
most people are probably not even ready for wars, brother, because most people lack the spiritual vigilance to even be remotely prepared for war. But then again,
Right.
hey, I'm trying to fight for my freedom in a name for myself. Even for you too, man, because I could just say that, hey, it's now time to add Afro-Hispanic, Afro-Latino onto the census as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's been time. So, and it's like one of the things that I hate when there's certain people that don't know. You have to go and try to explain the whole history on why I am Afro-Hispanic, and then you have the divestors that they just want to shut me out because for whatever reason, whether it be political or just plain ignorance. So
Exactly. And that's why, like the last time I called you, like, hey, mi aliado favorito, along with the rest of
exactly.
your.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I've learned your language. I've learned all this other stuff, because if I'm going to actually have like great brothers and allies, I may as well try learning your language along with everything else.
I like
Because
I
it's
like
vital.
I like that I like that attitude. I
Exactly.
wish I wish more
Because
people had the attitude.
exactly though, because on my page there actually is this Dominican girl who actually has a large following, and she was like, "Wait, you understand Spanish?" I just told her that, yeah, and then like I kind of like showed her like a video of me like recording like my contractors in my backyard, and I was just showing her. I was just basically saying, "Hey, tengo contratistas que están
Mhm.
construyendo una piscina en el jardín trasero," and she was like, "Whoa." I'm like, "Yeah, because if you're my ally, I might as well try learning."
Right.
I hope I sounded clear there, because I'm actually
I
still
mean,
waking up.
yeah.
And honestly,
What time
man,
is it? So what time is
it's
it
five.
out there in Los Angeles right now? It's 5?
It's 5:30. or
Oh,
5:27.
okay, yeah. Here's like 8:27, so it's almost 8:30.
Yeah, I definitely know that like East Coast is 3 hours ahead of me, but I'm on Pacific Standard Time.
Yeah, that's what's up.
Exactly. So, yep. And that girl though, it's like she's like all for like alliances though, because she's actually is in between Santo Domingo and New York City. So she
Yeah,
so after I like showed her that yeah, I can understand you. I get that. She was like, yeah, but then again, alliances are needed though. So that's just where people have to try hard. And I just think that even us, especially with my group,
hmm,
and like those along the lines of being like, biracial and multiracial, dude, I believe that we should learn each other's languages, or at least try to. We should actually invest in some good time into, you know what, um, learning the languages, because in case, dude, things really start to hit the fan, I would at least like to know how to communicate,
yes,
because these are scary times. These are the end times. And since, like you're talking about like the wars or independence or China or Singapore or Taiwan, well, unfortunately, I do not know any kind of Taiwanese or Mandarin or Cantonese, even though it'll be nice to. But so
right,
far, I'm kind of going with what I'm a little bit more familiar with, and that is, the Spanish, the Portuguese, and I actually used to be able to speak a little bit of French too, because of the Louisiana French Creole within me. But like they say, you don't use it, you lose it.
yeah. I mean, to the guy cultural politics, right? Dominican Spanish is a little bit hard to muster because every it depends because right now in the Dominican Republic there's a whole bunch of slang words that are being used, but at the same time there's street slang words, and it's to the point that the older generation can't really communicate with the younger communication with the younger generation. Meaning that, for example, there's words that are made up which you can't really see or hear in the Spanish language. Or it'll be like, okay, if I say something, right, but then it has a double meaning towards it. By the way, I'm good cultural politics. Yeah,
Yeah, I've
it is.
always noticed that too, which is why, like, when she speaks, I'm like, what? But
Like,
however, though, like when like somebody from like Mexico or El Salvador or Guatemala like speaks, it's almost very fluid and it's very clear. Whereas sometimes when she speaks, now it's only like when she goes back to the streets, I'm like, is that even Spanish? But then when
I
she gets
mean,
formal, then I can read her and understand.
yeah, because when my mother, when she actually learned all the formal Spanish, so therefore when she spoke Spanish, she spoke the formal Spanish, and she spoke English and Spanish formal. When I started learning Spanish in the streets, I learned to slang Spanish. Even to the day that, even though I could articulate, I cannot really articulate grammatically. My wife, she could speak better than me. Well, everybody can, but the thing is, though, I still learn, and I'm trying to get to the level that my mom was. So therefore, when I actually speak Spanish, I could actually articulate, and you could tell where I guess from, or whatever the case may be.
Exactly, though, and kind of like when it comes to that, it's more so is that I can understand you, but for sometimes I will not be able to respond to you. Yeah, you get
Exactly.
that feeling too, like, yeah, I understand you very clearly, but I don't know what to say in response, or I can't respond to you.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. But then it's like the times that I spent in the Dominican Republic, I guess I learned more whatsoever the case. And the last time I was there, I was with my sister, and my sister was shocked. And she was like, I can't believe that my younger brother could speak Spanish better than I can. I was
Yeah,
like,
totally. Yeah. So
I was
like for
like,
like
what?
cultural politics and like what he's saying, so I can actually like read and understand it on a conversational level. But like you said, is that Dominican Spanish can be a bit challenging and hard because like a girl that I know, she includes in a lot of like random words or extra words that I've never even seen. But living down here in like Southern Nevada, you have a lot of Mexican and Central American immigrants, and even East Las Vegas is like our Nevada version of East Los Angeles. So, like, I guess when they speak Spanish and when they write it, I understand it clearly. But sometimes when it comes to like Dominicans who may write me, I'm like, what does that word mean? What? So, yeah, it can be a tricky thing there. But, at least I try.
Yeah, yeah, but it's like, I don't know. Then on top of it, there's one thing that there's like, I guess since we're the Dominicans, there's a whole bunch of how should I say, certain people that are who are just attacking us, meaning that they want to try to put their narratives on Dominicans. And to me, I have my narrative, and I'll be like, okay, I'm an Afro Dominican, and then you have other people that are like, oh, you're a traitor, you're a vende patria, you're this, you're that. But in the meanwhile, you have certain people who will try to write on other people's comments like, "Oh, y'all don't exist" or something like that. They'll try to say something stupid, but
Like, you're actually Haitian.
or something. I'm like, okay, first of all, uh, in defense for all my Dominicans, even the ones that I can't stand, Dominican Republic is in the United Nations. So if a person want to try to write say y'all shouldn't exist, go to the United Nations. Our flag is the Dominican flag is rising right there. And then when you have certain people that want to tell you, oh, you're a traitor to us. Well, the fact is, I'm not a part of y'all to begin with. You get what I'm trying to say? I'm not a part like I'm not a part of how should I say? I hate when people when they assume that you're something that you're not. Like I got into a discussion with one of the guys by the name of Nack Measy, right? And me and him, he was talking. He's like, "Oh, you're this, you're that, or whatever," right? So in his mind, he thought that I was African American because my jargon and the way that I speak English. So I had to tell him I was just born here. I was raised amongst y'all. But at the end of the day, if I was to go and try to look up who I am, the United States is not going to help me because I only have my birth certificate, and I have to look for where my parents came within the United States. So as far as my history in this country, it does not go far back. So I can't go and tell nobody could really tell me anything because before before 1957 or anything like that, nobody could tell me, oh yeah, your family is right. Nobody could tell me that. It's like my aunt, my mom's sister, was the first one in her family to actually come to New York. She married a mulatto man who was from, who I guess you would call Creole, from the bayous of Gulfport, Mississippi. In
That's
1970,
my family right there. But yeah, go on.
yeah. So in the 1970s, 1970 to be exact, my aunt moved with her husband after his mother passed away. And she lived there until she passed away in 1998. Her husband passed away in 1986. So I barely knew the man. In 1989, that's when I came to live with her. So therefore, I guess that's where I have my a little southern accent, but I had it strong when I was growing up, but now I have lost it. So that's one side. But if a person really want to get technical, as far as going back towards history, my mother, she actually came into this country in 1967, and my dad in 1972. So it's only going to be those immigration records that are going to tie them to me. So any other history, which is like, well, 200 years, you can't tie to me because my family wasn't there in the United States during those times.
Yeah, though it's just now we're just in that era where people want to police your identity or police where you're actually from or where they think you may actually be from. It's even kind of like a common thing with what actually a lot of people even try to do to my folks is that
Hmm.
you have like societal structures that go out and about and try to police your identity or try to say that this is actually what truly defines you. But you know what you are, you know what you're composed of, and you know it precisely where your people, yourself, and your life experiences stem from.
Exactly. And it's
Kind of
funny because
like that Antonio Batista dude who was trying to police your identity. We all remember that. So you kind of have
I
like
mean,
plenty of those types like him, and then everyone else who does so.
to me is this, and it's funny. Like Antonio Batista, I mean,
Or Andy, I should say.
yeah, Andy, yeah, he is like I've come across individuals with like him when I was in high school, and they'd tell me, "Oh, you're not Dominican, this, that, and the third." When the facts align themselves, what they're gonna do is gonna try to gaslight you because what you are does not fit their agenda. When the fact is, you have certain racist detractors, they could say, "Oh, you're this and that." When you see a whole when you see a whole block of dark skinned Dominicans, you will not say that because everybody knows that you're fake. Like, for example, you have these guys and they're talking about their racist ideals, or they want to appeal to white racists or whatever the case may be, right? But yet, the stuff that they're saying and their dreams and aspirations and stuff like that, you would tell you would tell that if a war were to actually happen, it would not be the ones right there. So therefore, they're going to try to send their minions until whatever happens and say, "Oh yeah, I'm a leader." When the fact is, they didn't put work in. So with that case, all that shouting and everything like that, there's certain attributes that you could actually see about certain people who act like that. like in the long run, if you have people who are so bent on their beliefs on hate and everything like that, it manifests in other ways as um either as spousal abuse or narcissistic behavior. And then on top of it, they want to act like they're the tough guy and everything. When the fact is, they can never listen to reason. And they have a whole bunch of their simp followers that think that they're the voice of reason, that they're fighting for the community. When the fact is, these guys are actually broke.
Exactly, because something like for Andy, he literally calls himself like on YouTube right now Dominican representative. I'm like, you sure about that? Because
I'm
like I
like,
said, when me and him went at it, he was like, "Oh, shut up,
"Mhm."
you're not Dominican." I'm like, I just told you I wasn't from the beginning, and neither are like the vast majority of your followers, who are just a bunch of LARPy neo Nazis. Yeah, so much for
Yo,
being a representative.
yeah, like for example, like for the Telegram group, right? It's funny like on the theory of LARPing, right? Because it's like I LARP that I LARP in Telegram to say that I'm the guy that don't care. You know what I'm saying? That's my angle. And the reason why I do the LARPing is because these racists, right? They they you could tell you could talk about one thing, right? And you could tell that these guys ain't does don't have can't get action. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So, so I act like I'm just the your basic old degenerate that don't care. I I go around and I say I'm on the prowl, whatever the case may be, when it's an act. So it's an act, and I'm like, hey, I only slipped up once. But the thing is, though, nobody really knew who I was, unless, well, you do. But I'm saying as far as anybody of that debate community, right? So,
Oh yeah.
so the guy know around me, yo, why the heck you talk about sex? I'm like, so why the heck you got a whole bunch of racists? So therefore, I could go around and talk about whatever the heck I want because I know it'll make these racists sick. Like for example,
Yeah. True.
like for example, there was these two white guys in my former job here in Philadelphia, right? They want to say, yeah, I'm an a-hole or whatever the case may be. And they used to tell some joint which is called white guy jokes or whatever, right? Which I didn't get because they were corny. So with their white guy or dick jokes or whatever the case may be. And I just looked at them like, why? I used to go around and LARP to them the most disgusting thing that they could actually muster up. Everybody who was not white knew what I was talking about, but these guys were just confused. Whenever they talk about their schlong jokes or whatever, I used to talk about something that was that I know that would extremely disgust them. Like I used to say, like, yeah, you know, I just like me a 500-pound woman that don't shave. You know what I'm saying? So when I used to say that, you could see the you could see the disgust on their face, and they'll be like, "What is with you, man?" I'm like, "What? Y'all talk about that joint when we talk about the hairy women. That's fair, right?"
Well, yeah, like if you have people who are going around with a bunch of racially charged material, then I guess that makes it fine to spread a bunch of sexually charged material around.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Even though you don't really believe in it, it's just that okay, since they're LARPing and they say and they want to play the victimhood card, which to me doesn't really make sense.
I could tell you this, man, is that as somebody here who used to LARP as a white nationalist, even myself, or used to be like that self-loathing mulatto,
Yeah.
I can tell you this, though, is that if they claim that they are the master race, but at the same time a victim to the Jew, then that in itself is very contradictory and something to already question.
I mean, yeah. It's like for example, like their victimhood to the Jews, right? It's like okay. Um I bet you half of those people have never came across a Jewish person ever in their life. You know what I'm trying to say? But they're just sprouting a whole bunch of hateful stuff that they might have learned from their grandfather that used to smoke that wacky tobacco or
Mm-hmm. And
whatever.
you want to know something, just not only just that, but what they do is precisely no different than a lot of the SJWs that they complain about. Because I'm like saying is that, well, what precisely makes you different from the SJWs? You go around over here, you say being victimized, whites are being under attack. So therefore I need to stand up and be a civil rights Martin Luther King for white people right now. That precisely is no different than what Patrice Cullors has been trying to do in terms of her claims about how black people are being systematically oppressed, how they're being brutalized, and how they're being a victim of the system, and how they need to rise up. It's precisely basically the same kinds of principles that they are applying to their movements.
Yeah.
When it comes to my movement, I feel like my people are the ones who are actually truly the ones actually getting hit with all bunch of shots because of the fact that a lot of my folks have actually experienced racial alienation on both sides. And then we still live in a very racially binary country in which society wants us to pick one. But we're actually the ones who come up and challenge the structures and the norms. No other group can do that, and no other group can actually truly get that other than those such as myself, because that's just how unique and distinct the experience is. It's nothing like what monoracial people do.
Right. And
Like,
it's like to the
no, go on.
and it's like that when you actually look at certain movies, I want to actually um talk to a person who is multiracial that lives like in another country to see what their struggles is, you know what I'm saying? Because I want to actually educate myself on a lot of stuff because there's you could go and and you could educate yourself by reading a book. But then when you actually meet the people and then y'all have a conversation, it's more of an education because you learn something every day.
Exactly, though. I mean, like, given the fact that it's a very different world, race probably over there is configured differently. And so just the perspective is going to vary. Like, I'm kind of curious as to probably how things would go down for me. And the place where your parents are from? I don't know. I'd have to go there and find out. But I'm curious.
I mean, it's like I would tell you, like, depending on what part, you might just fit in the population because you have certain people that look just like you.
I've noticed that too. Because like there was this one other Dominican guy who showed me his ancestral results. And I told him that, dude,
Mhm.
yours looks almost no different than mine. It's
Yeah,
interesting.
I mean,
That's why I'm saying
I
you
would
guys are like my
go
allies.
exactly. And the thing is, though, I would do the ancestral thing, but there's the thing, and which a lot of people don't know, is as soon as you put your DNA into the database base or whatever the case may be, you will have law enforcement want to use that so therefore they could they sell your information or your genetical information to law enforcement, so therefore they'll be eager to catch criminals.
Yeah,
And
you're
you might,
basically giving your DNA away to the government. That's for sure. And what are the police? Agents
yeah,
of the government.
yeah. So that is the downside of finding out who you are. So people say, "Oh, do it." I'm like, okay, so let's put it like this. Let's say I put my DNA or whatever the case may be, and then there might be a far relative that I did not know, and then you get arrested. You're the cousin of that person. I'm like, really?
That just gets creepy.
I mean, there's been several cases about that. Like, for example, um, there's there was a guy who was he was just a regular dude, and and his grandmother had like a whole bunch of sons or whatever the case may be. So what happened was he put his DNA right there, and then the people who killed this person had to be a cousin of his because their DNA was like around the murder scene. So they looked at the family genealogy tree and they found out that this person had two sons. So one of the sons, I guess, murdered this woman and left his DNA right there. And it was by help because of that man that he was caught. His far cousin that he didn't know that he had.
It's interesting.
So yeah.
A little creepy, but interesting.
Trust me, there's more. Like, for example, you got certain people who be like, okay, they think that their father is their father because they they actually went and was raised with them and so forth, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they take the test and everything, and then they find out that the guy that supposed to be their father is not. And it was revealed that their mother cheated on their husband, and the father was raising a child that was not even his.
Stuff like that does happen, and some people are surprised that it's actually a common thing. Like, technically speaking, somebody who father the entire time is actually your uncle. It's just that the uncle just looks so closely related to your father. But yet you two look so much alike because you guys are closely related.
Yeah.
Stuff like that does happen where somebody comes up and says that, hey, Don, I'm actually your father. That's just your uncle. We just look alike. And genetic markers will actually specifically tell you how you're related to this person, by the way. So like when my mom did her test, the genealogy did say that, hey, this is your mother. I'm like, that's true. And then the other one said that this is your father, and these are actually your first and second cousins from his side. But yeah, man, maybe sometime give it a shot, but do it whenever you feel easy about doing so.
Yeah. It's like, with all that and everything like that, I'm glad that there's DNA tests and everything like that. But now, since we have all these idiots that they want to police everybody's identities, like what does the person have to do just to show you a historical document
Mm-hmm.
or walk with them? Like, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Well, how long have we been here? For almost a good hour. So now, like, speaking about the workout that you did earlier, though, I'm about to go and get my workout in, but I am hoping that at least Jose or like some of the other guys could come on.
I mean, Jose got his stream right now, so you know.
Nice. You should also come into Jose's Discord too on Discord.
Yeah, I'm. It's like I'm still trying to work that out because I'm still unfamiliar with the Discord and everything like that, for that matter. So I would like to go to his Discord.
Absolutely. I'll see whether I can add you to it.
Yeah.
Alrighty. But I'm in Philly. We'll hang.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, whenever you're in Philly, you know, where I keep telling anybody this. If you just let me know that you're in Philly, just come to my crib. We'll have a dinner in your honor.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Introduce me to some Dominican style food. I'm open to it. I like it.
Oh yeah, trust me, you will love it.
Can't wait. Alrighty, Don. Catch you later.
All right. It was
Likewise.
nice having you here.
Likewise.